Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Michelle Anthony, President of the League of Women Voters, Wilkes Barre area. On behalf of our Board of Directors, I would like to welcome you to our 2024 Legislative Brunch. This event is being recorded in its entirety by Service Electric Television and will be broadcast and then posted on YouTube. No part of this recording may be used or distributed by any person, candidate, campaign, or political group for any purpose whatsoever. However, candidates may provide a link on their websites to this full YouTube video. Many thanks to Wilkes University, especially facilities employees Ken Hanadel, Ron Carafa, catering Zoe Moody, and Mildred Urban, our events coordinator. Special thanks to our league board, all volunteers who are working the event this morning, in particular Dr. Tom Baldino, Dr. Jane Elms-Crahall, both emeritus faculty here at Wilkes University, and Kathy O'Neill. Thank you to our two state legislators out of the 12 invited, in keeping with the League's tradition as a nonpartisan organization, who took time to meet with us this morning to share their thoughts and positions on a variety of issues. Eddie Day Pashinsky has represented the 121st District since 2007. His committee service is encyclopedic, and he is a graduate of Wilkes University in music education. James Haddock has served since 2022 for the 118th District, which includes parts of both Luzerne and Lackawanna counties. He also served as mayor of Avoca and graduated from Bucknell University's Advanced School of Banking. Welcome to you both, legislators. Most importantly, audience, thank you for being here. You are the reason we have these events, and we're hoping that the information you glean from today's event will assist you in making informed voting decisions on Election Day or on your mail-in ballot. Our moderator today, League member Dr. Christine Mellon, teaches communication studies and is director of speech and debate at Wilkes University. We are thankful for her willingness to share her expertise and professionalism with us. Dr. Mellon will now briefly review our event format.
Thank you, Dr. Anthony. I appreciate the invitation to moderate today's proceedings. So now we will begin by talking with our two candidates, Representative Pashinsky of the 121st and James Haddock. Representative Haddock is from the 118th District of Pennsylvania. The order in which candidates will speak was determined by a coin toss, and Representative Pashinsky will begin. Now, the order in which questions are asked will be rotated so that the second question will be asked of the candidate who went second on the first question, and so on, just in case I trip up on that. Everybody's helping me out there. Both candidates will be given a 1-minute period for a closing statement at the end of the session. Questions for the candidates will be selected from a list submitted by our audience today and the League Board. The legislators will have up to 3 minutes to answer each question. We ask that you hold any applause until the end of the forum after the closing statements. And now our first question to Representative Pashinsky. Almost 2 years ago, the Commonwealth Court Judge Renee Jubilier ruled that it was unconstitutional for the state to inequitably fund its public school districts, and that the state had historically underfunded too many poor districts. Governor Shapiro proposes adding $1 billion to the education budget to begin increasing the state's contribution. Do you think that this is sufficient, too little, or too much? In addition, do you support retaining the practice of holding harmless those wealthy districts that continue to receive increases in state support every year? Representative Pashinsky.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mellon. Thank you all for being here. This is called democracy, America. And it's our honor for us to be here to represent the people of the 121st District and Pennsylvania. It's part of our job is to listen and then try to fix things and work together to make our lives better. The other thing, if I may say, I thought we were going to have an opening statement, but so good to see so many of the young people here today, because it is your future that is on the line right now. Now, to answer the question, I've been there for quite a long time. Since 2007, it is a complete honor to serve. And in that time frame, you develop relationships and rapport with people on both sides of the aisle, people in the Senate as well as the House. Unfortunately, over the years, it's always seems to be about money. And I want to make a statement that in government, there's never enough money for everything that's needed. But there is a way, and there are rules and regulations, and there are needs that need to be addressed in a timely manner. So for years, many of our public institutions, our public schools, have been underfunded, many of which have been severely underfunded, including Wilkes Barre area. Wilkes Barre area was one of the school districts that engaged in the lawsuit that Dr. Mellon referred to, where, by the way, Judge Jubileer is a Republican judge, determined that our public schools were being inadequately funded. The system is out of date. And although there were many efforts to try to balance the system out, it failed. Last year was the first year where we had such an increase. It was over $500 million to try to fund our school districts at a level where they can provide the education necessary for the students that they educate. And please do not ever forget the purpose of a public school. The purpose of that in the Constitution is to give every child, no matter what side of the tracks you come from, a chance for a future. Your chance is through education. The more you know, as I would tell my students, the more you know, the further you go. And as a result, every kid should have an opportunity for a quality education. This second budget has now demonstrated the governor's concern and demonstrated his commitment to increase the funding. Now, to answer that other part of the question, supposedly it's about $5 to $6 billion underfunded. Well, you can't do that in 1 year. But we can do that, and the plan is over a 7-year period. We're going to try to balance the scale so those schools that are underfunded get a larger portion so that they can provide that education, and those that are underfunded, or those that are self-sufficient, will not have anything taken away, except we have to try to balance the scale to provide, the necessary funds. And one last thing, if I may say, being a teacher for many years in public school, our life, our styles, our society has changed dramatically. There are so many children coming into our public schools where that is the only salvation they have, because they don't have a home life. It's sad. Whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's people, their parents that are incarcerated, or whether it's just the fact that those parents weren't nurtured. I just shared this with you. From northeastern PA, a lot of these people didn't have a lot of money, still don't have a lot of money. You were raised in a half a double block, but you were raised with love. You were raised with a set of rules to be respectful, to work hard, to do a great job, to treat each other with respect. That's not happening in so many families. So our school systems, our public schools, is that last hope for us to be able to help those children. And as a result, again, it's our future. Last, I'll leave you this, and I think that's well beyond the 3 minutes. I appreciate the time. This is called life. Every day you wake up, you have a plan, and guess what? Something happens, you have to change that. We're strong enough. And if we have the will, we can tackle any challenge that's before us as long as we work together and as long as we work with the truth and the facts. We've done it in the past, we'll continue to do it in the future. I hope that gets you all the stuff you need.
Representative Haddock.
Well, as Eddie said, I would first like to thank the League of Women Voters for the opportunity of this forum. This is invaluable. Anytime we can talk to our constituents and people in our area and hear feedback and actually answer and inform you what we're up to, and then hear what you need from us or expect from us, it's part of democracy, and that's part of the reason we are elected. So I am thrilled to be here this morning. We're at two ends of the spectrum. Eddie is one of our senior members in the House, and I am still what we call a freshman, even though I have gray hair. So this past year was enlightening to me as a freshman legislature member. When you come from a background, and I was on the Pittston School Board. That was my first venture in politics before I became mayor of Avoca. And I had a long career in banking, and I have to say, in insurance, and I run a business on the side myself, so I'm a small businessman. You think you're ready for Harrisburg, but then you get there and you realize how big the state is and how many areas in that budget, line items in the budget there are, and how much advocacy there is for the people of Pennsylvania, and how much support the state gives throughout the state to help the economy. And that's what it's all about. So my first passion is public schools, being a Pittston area school director, a former Pittston area school director. Last year we made an historic investment in our schools, the most money that was ever put in to the school systems after, and I'm going to say something that Eddie said, Judge Connie Jubileer is a conservative Republican judge. So when she came out, because I had concerns for the good of our school systems, my heart dropped, to be honest. But the judge actually ruled with her heart and with the papers and the information that was put in front of her. I was pleasantly surprised. And I have to say, she did rule that we are down to $6 to $7 billion from the state's constitutional obligation to fund public education. And last year, the governor rolled out a budget at $47 million with an even higher amount. The House Democrats presented their budget at $50 million for the whole state. Billion dollars, excuse me. And the fight began. And the Senate Republicans, who lead the charge, cut the state's budget to $45 billion. And education took a clip. Even with a court order from the judge. And the way this works, usually the judges will rule and they'll give the governing body time. It's not instant. They know $6-7 billion just doesn't come out of the air. They'll wait, and then the plaintiffs will go into court and say they're not meeting their fiduciary responsibility, their constitutional responsibility in your court order, and the judge someday will come back with a hammer, and she will order certain monies to be put in. We hope that that does not come to fruition. We hope that the legislating bodies will properly fund public education. We've already had some higher dollar amounts put in. They were knocked off the table. This year, Governor Shapiro came in with a $1.1 billion investment to answer this. And we are already hearing, oh, where's the money coming from? There's a court order, folks, and there's a constitution of the state of Pennsylvania that says we should fund this. So we are fighting already to continue the money, to keep it there and keep it in public education, meet the court order, meet our fiduciary responsibility, meet our constitutional responsibility as legislators. Sometimes you have to put up with hard votes, and sometimes you may have to even raise some kind of funding somewhere, and there are avenues to get that without property taxes, because the good and the bad is if we fund public education properly, people that own homes will get a tax cut. Your property taxes are higher than they should be because the state of Pennsylvania has not met their constitutional responsibility. So we will make sure, we will tie that as we give, and we would hope that we tie, as we give the money from the state of Pennsylvania, that property taxes could come down. And in this county in particular, in Luzerne, and I represent 2 counties, there's 20% of the state reps that do that, that there'll be a tie, that we just don't give the schools money on top of money, but we'll have a correlation that as we properly fund it, that they'll have to give property tax rebates and lower their property tax to our taxpayers, which is good for everybody. And yes, the funding, the second half of the question is certain school districts are fairly well off. The funding formula has to be addressed to put us all on a level playing field.
Okay, so the next question will be to Representative Haddock. Oh, sorry.
I thought we were going to have a chance to add on to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to add on to that, it's important for you to know that the Basic Education Funding Commission also did a study and found the same, that the facts show many school districts are being severely underfunded. So what the representative talked about relative to the case, the judicial case, the court case itself, it was also backed up by the Basic Education Funding Commission. And again, this is not something that hasn't been known by all sides. They've known that some schools are being overfunded and other schools are being underfunded. And the correlation between your property tax is definitely there. So if the schools were funded at the proper level, your property taxes in northeastern PA would be nowhere near as high as they are. So it's going to take now the negotiations, as Representative Haddock said. You know, we made our proposal. The Senate is majority Republican. They made their proposal, and now it's a matter of back and forth, bargaining back and forth to be able to get the dollars that we feel we need.
Okay, so the next question then will begin with Representative Haddock. So we're talking about elementary and secondary, and then a little bit discussion about higher ed. We do have quite a large number of college students in the room, so I'm going to attempt this question. It's a hybrid of some of the league board questions as well as some of the questions from the audience. So you mentioned that Governor Shapiro is looking to assist state college students. One will be hopefully through increasing the THEA grants, and the other one is to have a cap of $1,000 per semester on tuition for PA families earning $70,000 or less that are attending the publicly funded universities and community colleges. So what do you think about these proposals? And then secondly, why not allocate the funds for student grants so that they can use the money at any of our quality private colleges and universities in the Commonwealth?
Well, Governor Shapiro actually surprised. So last year he mentioned he was going to address PASHE in particular, the state's higher system. This year he rolled this out, and while it's been done in other states before, very similar programs, it was earth-shattering. Caught us by surprise, to be honest. The plan that he's talking about was $970 million to fund the lowering of the tuition. Again, that's close to $1 billion. And there's already cries that we can't afford this. The other half of that program is that the community colleges will be rolled into PASHE. So there was a lot of restructuring in the state that has to be done. It's 1 year to get the plan together and then start implementing it in year 2. And we are in our caucus talking already. We're being educated on the plan. It is a very aggressive or innovative plan that's new to all of us, and the devil's always in the detail, as you can imagine, putting the two fronts together, and there's more than 2 major fronts, and getting that tuition down, because Pennsylvania in the country is ranking very low with the help that we give our college students. The governor has identified that problem, and we are working on improving Pennsylvania's status. And to be honest, the plan is on a high level being supported by many of us, but we have a lot of questions ourselves. So this one is, my opinion, is going to be very tough to get done this budget cycle. The fight has already started, and our friends on the other side are already saying we don't have the money for this. And they saying we may not have the need, even though Pennsylvania is ranked
I think 49th.
47th or 49th
It's ridiculous.
Our ranking. So it's another, so education on all levels is something that I know the importance of. You're talking to a gentleman that went to community college at night while he worked because he didn't have the money. I was a graduate of the Wilkes Barre Tech School. I am very fortunate when I look at my career, what happened to me, and that I was able to get where I am in life. I am personally pleasantly surprised. But so many of our students should have that opportunity that I struggled with personally. And I know that, and we want to get this done, but this is not an easy deal. And but the conversations are starting, and it's another fight that we're going to have with the budget and the legislature in both chambers. But it is needed. We do have to change. You know, doing the same thing over again is insanity and getting the same unwanted results. And our future is the youth. And not only do we want to keep our youth here in Pennsylvania, but we want to bring youth into Pennsylvania. And some of our colleges are cost prohibitive. So this is going to be a battle, folks. But it's something that I'm willing to look at and help get it right. And that's my job as a legislature member.
Representative Paszynski?
It's 2024. In 2020, you had the pandemic. Things have changed dramatically. People need jobs. We have plenty of jobs. We don't have people to fill them. Or we don't have people that are qualified to fill them. So it takes thinking outside the box. And then when you find out that we're 49th out of 50th when it comes to the cost of education in Pennsylvania, it becomes really upsetting. I hate to tell you what my tuition was when I attended Wilkes. You will never, ever believe it. But here's the bottom line. So the governor's come up with a plan to try to address, number one, kids who want to get an education but don't have the money that can't afford it. Well, guess what? That's what the purpose is of community college, state college, private institution, universities. It's giving, once again, every kid a chance to get that education because that's your future. Your education creates your financial success, your future. So what the governor's trying to do, they're trying to get the costs down to the point for people that can't afford college so that they can go to college and get that degree and then fill those jobs that are desperately needed. So the program that he's come up with is actually incredible. Only $1,000 per semester. How many of my college kids out there would love to just pay $1,000 a semester? Absolutely. And we've already heard stories of kids that are going to top quality institutions like Wilkes, like King's, Misericordia, Scranton U. We have great institutions, but some can't afford it. Or you borrow it, do you not? And then what do they do to you on that? What is it, 6%? 7% interest? You graduate, you have a house mortgage. It's more than a mortgage sometimes. The system needs work. And that's why the governor and we're going to attempt to try to come up with new solutions to give more young people a chance for that education, get that degree. In fact, even if we can escalate it, increase the time, lessen the time that you get that degree, 3 semesters instead of 2 a year, so you can get into the job market. Once you get into the job market, now, how does that work? You have money, you're now a consumer. You're purchasing products from Pennsylvania. Because you have money and a job, you're paying taxes, you're contributing back to Pennsylvania. So the idea is, how do we balance all of that? The other point I want to make to you is this. I've been there now, this is going to be my 18th year. Last year, the year before, last year, and now this year, we never had a fund balance of billions of dollars. Did you hear that? We never had that. We were either going, oh my God, we don't have enough money, are we going to have to raise the taxes? Where are we going to get the money for these programs? Our economy has grown in Pennsylvania, contrary to what some folks think. Yes, there's a fund balance. $1 billion? How about, that's a lot of money, $1 billion. No, it's more than that. 5 billion? No, it's more than that. $14 billion. Never have we ever had anything near that. Whose money is that? The taxpayers. When I say the taxpayers, it's also the people that are, what? Working in Pennsylvania, producing products in Pennsylvania. Now, how do we use that fund balance? So what the governor is proposing is we take some of that money, $3 billion of it. We still have $11 billion left. You think we're okay? Huh? I'm looking at the kids. They're looking at me like, I don't know, $11 billion? What can I buy for that? So the bottom line is you're taking that $3 billion and you're now investing it in programs that if it works the way it's planned, we're all going to benefit, because now these kids are going to get an education. Now they're going to get a job. Oh.
Sorry.
Listen, you don't have to give me a sign. First of all, there's only 2 of us. It's not like there's 10 of us here or 12 that's supposed to be here. So Jimmy and I are going to take the time we need.
Okay, so Representative,
Dr. Anthony, all right, take care. We'll see you.
Representative, I want to move.
May I just,
Okay, sorry.
and not to rebut him, but I love the man, but yeah, Eddie, it's 3 minutes, buddy.
Look who's talking.
Just to clarify, we have $6 billion and change. There's 2 pots of money. There's a budget reserve, and there's a rainy day fund. So there's $6 billion plus in Pennsylvania's budget reserve, and $7 billion in our rainy day fund. And that's the money when Eddie said 13. So if you combine them, and think of this, a rainy day fund. It was set up many years ago by our prior legislator members and governors for a rainy day. Pennsylvania being 47th or 49th in the country in cost of education and being billions of dollars behind in our elementary education, isn't that a rainy day? Don't we need, and they're screaming, don't touch that money. It's your money. So we will try to get it and use it for the proper things.
Okay.
By the way, I have a proposal for the private schools. When you allow me some time, we'll talk about it.
I don't know who's supposed to go next, but I'm going to guess it's maybe Representative Pashinsky.
Yes.
So let me ask a few questions based on this idea of the budget, which is concerning, especially whether or not it'll be passed. But we have some questions from the floor regarding whether or not you would be in favor of helping the Pennsylvania financial situation by legalizing marijuana, imposing a severance tax on natural gas, or last year the casinos had the most profit in history. What about increasing, the state tax from gambling to help fund all, education and a lot of our social programs?
And I'm going to do all this in 3 minutes?
Yes.
2 seconds, okay. All right, let's start with, what was the first one?
Marijuana.
We had this discussion just yesterday with a board that we were working with. Look, here's the bottom line. Everyone said you should never legalize gambling. Everyone said you should never legalize alcohol. And now you shouldn't legalize marijuana. So now you have to come back, and the word is balance. What's the right thing to do? What can we do? Well, of course, none of us want to see anyone get addicted to any of that. But again, as life, everything, you have challenges. What have we been able to do with legalizing gambling and legalizing alcohol? It has brought billions of dollars back to you, back to our communities in improvements. Marijuana is the same kind of thing. What are the advantages? Some say it's at least worth $1 billion that would come back to the people of Pennsylvania. The other advantages are it would be a controlled substance. So if anybody wanted to purchase marijuana, you would go to like a liquor store and purchase safe marijuana, no fentanyl. When you're buying that stuff all over the place, I don't know how you could think about buying it off the street, but how many poor kids are dying because they buy it and there's fentanyl in it and now they're dead. The money has advantages. There's always disadvantages. But the bottom line is if you were to legalize it and control it the appropriate way, you would be able now to bring dollars back into the community for whatever the needs were.
Natural gas severance tax.
We've tried. Our Democrats have tried. A fair tax. The other side doesn't want to do that. And by the way, I want to just say that Jimmy and I are just in the majority for 1 year. And in that 1 year, we passed over 200 pieces of legislation. And we're the ones proposing for the improvements of your life. Of course, we have to be careful how we control the money. You just don't spend it. But under this governor and the efforts that we're making, we're trying to manage it appropriately, and we're trying to make the lives of the people from the bottom up, the middle out, get stuff done, as the governor said. The guys on the top, we need them too, don't we? We need their investments. They're doing fine. The billionaires are doing fine. It's time that the regular folks get their share of the pot.
Increase the state tax on gambling.
I don't think we need that. 55% is what we're taxing them. Hello, 55% is what we're taxing them.
Almost about 60.
Oh, yeah. There you go, tough on them.
They went up.
Yeah, and again, if it's, I want them to be profitable.
See, I thought we got a short answer, and now you kept them going.
I want them to be profitable. I want all of these things to be profitable, but it has to be balanced and regulated and monitored. At this point, I say let those other guys pay their share first, and then we'll deal with it as needed.
Representative Haddock, marijuana.
I'm a little cautious on the marijuana, and I understand all the talking points where, you know, our neighboring states are starting to legalize recreational use. I'm in the process of studying the bill at hand and the law. I want to make sure that enough money is going into education and treatment. And then where sometimes in these bills that money gets, the tax money comes in and it can get earmarked for certain spending. There's some questions I have with legalizing recreational marijuana. I'm willing to study it and I'm willing to entertain it, but I'm not sure where I'm at personally with that vote. But the governor did put it on the table in a heavy way in his budget address, so these talks are being done in earnest, and it's liable to happen this year. Severance tax, 15 years ago approximately, Ed Rendell made a deal with our industry of gas drillers, and he did a fee for permits for drilling, so they would have the hundreds of millions of dollars to put into infrastructure in Pennsylvania to get this started. And Ed Rendell's envisionment was, and I was a personal friend of Ed's, and I actually own property in the gas lands. So he thought if he gave them a break on the severance tax, they could pay for their infrastructure. And Rendell thought that the severance tax would come. They're not going anywhere. New York is shut down because of the water concerns. Our shale is the richest shale for deposits and return of gas coming out in the country. The Barnett Shale in Texas does not produce the amount of gas that the Marcellus Shale in Pennsylvania produces. Below the Marcellus Shale, there's a shale called the Utica Shale. And there's another shale below that, I can't think of the name of it right now. Pennsylvania has years and years, hundreds of years of shale and gas production to happen here. And it's the wells are producing at a rate that beats Virginia, Texas, and all around this country. And unfortunately, we're not having a serious conversation in properly taxing it because every other state has a severance tax. So that is something we really have to start going after them in earnest because they're not leaving. Our shale is that rich, folks. They're not leaving here. This is the honey hole. Now, the gambling tax. So the question is sort of a little wrong, but I want to introduce you to something else. Skill games. The casinos are paying at 54%. There's this thing called the VGTs. So there's some truck stops, video gaming terminals, and they're taxed at 49%. And our illustrious friends in the Pennsylvania Senate have a bill out there to tax these skill games. They're the games that are into convenience. They're saying Pennsylvania. They are everywhere, folks. They are not just in your mini markets. They're not just in your grocery store. Almost every lottery outlet has Pennsylvania skill games. They're unregulated. We do not know the payouts that they're giving the players. They are untaxed. There's no studies on what is going out, so we don't know the fairness of these games. They are what I call the modern day joker pokers. We and the governor did roll out to go after skill games and start taxing them. The other side is saying there's 60,000 terminals in Pennsylvania. My estimates are there's 200,000 terminals. There's a state representative in Scranton, right behind his office off on Meadow Avenue. The new venue, not just a mini market or a bar or a club with 4 or 5 or 6 of these machines, but they are opening up mini casinos, gaming, they're calling them gaming parlors, what a name. 30 machines in a hall similar to this, but of course bigger, plush carpets. I went to visit the state rep, I walked into the thing myself. You would think you were in a casino. Plush carpets, the walls, the glass, the mirrors. 30 to 40 machines in a building. Untaxed. People are going there on a Friday, Saturday night, Thursday night, Tuesday mornings. They are gambling. And the company that owns the biggest venue is fighting like heck to be taxed. The Senate wants to put 16% on it. The other avenues are 49 and 52%. Your casino pays 52% on slot machines. Now the table games are done at about 16%, but they're labor intensive and a different payout. But these video-based slot machines are taxed at 50 some. We have it on the table, and we are hopefully going to get this done, and it will bring in $1 billion. So it's not raise the tax. It's tax everything that's out there and regulate what's out there. So it was a fairly good question, but it's not increase it. It's regulate the illegal, the unregulated stuff. I'll get sued, what I say. The unregulated stuff that's out there.
Okay, so we do recognize that these are all very complex issues, but I have so many questions here. So if we could try to answer them with a little quicker, we'd appreciate it. I guess a little bit said about more things, might be good, even though you're doing a great job explaining all this. Again, we realize and we are respectful that they are complicated issues. This one being perhaps one of the most complicated. We are witnessing tremendous increase in gun violence in the state of Pennsylvania, as well as many other states throughout the nation. What can we do on the state level to help this issue, since the federal government seems unwilling to deal with the solutions? This will be Representative Haddock.
Yes. So we have in the House of Representatives passed this past year, it's called Common Sense Gun Control. You were talking to a guy that's a hunter and has a long lineage of people in my family that are servicemen. So I am very respectful of the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States and the state's Constitution for the right to bear arms. But common sense gun control, there are certain things that can be done because my family taught me to respect a gun, or I wouldn't have the gun because my family would take it off me. Some of that's not happening today. So the House of Representatives has already passed 2 common sense gun controls to put a little bit of a pressure or a penalty if you misuse guns. There are a series of 5 bills that were just passed in the House that's probably going to the floor, 5 more common sense gun control measures. We have already voted for those, and our 2 have passed the House. They're sitting over at the Senate. They've taken no action. But the gun violence and the tragedies that happen in the mass shootings is certainly out there, and we can control it to a certain point by putting precautions and putting, if you own a gun, you have to own it responsibly, from storage to transfers to tracking, because you cannot take the physical guns from people because of the Constitution of Pennsylvania and the Constitution of the United States. But red flag laws is one example. If you're a threat to yourself or others, Pennsylvania already has red flag laws. We want to increase a new red flag law because currently you either have to be a blood relative or a sexual partner for the red flag law to cover. But now if you threaten a friend or a neighbor, give you that example, there's no red flag law. So if you threaten your friend or neighbor, we want to expand that red flag law that already is in Pennsylvania and helps. And what that does, if a judge rules that you are indeed a threat to yourself or others, the guns get taken for a period of time. And they're the type of things that we can do in the state of Pennsylvania to help curb gun violence by passing good common sense gun laws and responsible ownership.
Representative Pashinsky?
The gun issue is a couple parts. First of all, it's a mental health issue. And we've tried to increase the dollars into mental health, identifying people that have mental health problems and providing the right resources for them, to get the care that they need. I think, to be quite frank, I think you've seen some of the information about the NRA. We talked about earlier, everything comes down to money. They're selling a heck of a lot of guns, making a lot of money. They are also designing and manufacturing things that you would never even thought of when it comes to the gun issues. Look, Representative Haddock made a couple points that I want to expand on. When I was a kid, you could bring your gun to school for the gun club that you had in the basement of the school. Or you could bring your .22 rifle to school on the bus, take it to the principal's office, and then after school, you were able to go hunting. Well, that's insanity today, okay? But there was that respect that everybody was taught about the danger of the gun, the responsibility of the gun, etc. How have we changed this? There was a time you're not allowed to purchase a .50 caliber weapon. Some people say, I think you can do it now. There was a time you couldn't purchase a machine gun. Now it's, AR-15s, bump stocks. What I'm trying to say to you is this. It's out of control. Those kinds of weapons were designed for war, not for a civil society, and not for a society where we have mental problems. I think everyone is aware on every military base, those armed services people, they're not allowed to walk around with their guns. Their guns are locked up. Their guns are unlocked when they have to do their routine. Not in America, though. Where's that gun locked up? We don't have that rule. And you want to know something? If it wasn't for the D's, we wouldn't have the red flag law or the background check that we passed out of the House. It never would have made it to the floor. Now, is that unreasonable to say before you're going to purchase a weapon that can, of course, be for deer hunting, etc., and could create incredible harm, we should just check to make sure you're okay? Don't we have those similar kind of rules when it comes to even autos? You have to pass a test. You have to go through a process. But for the gun, come on. This is out of control. It's about the money. This is absolutely insanity, and it is putting all our innocent children in jeopardy. Why would you go into school and do that? Why would you do it in the first place? My God, how tough are they to go in school and take the lives of those children or in the mall? So look, this is 2024. This is our challenge. How do we control it? How do we regulate it? How do we deal with it? And it's not taking your gun away. You can still go hunting, etc. But I think the interpretation of the Second Amendment might be in question. What did the Second Amendment say? You are right to bear arms in a well-regulated militia, right? And why did they give them that? Why? Tell me why. We had no Army, Navy, Marines, National Guard, state police. We had nothing. So the merchant, the farmer, the banker was the militia against our enemy that's coming over the Atlantic. They've changed the interpretation of that. You know what? This issue's too big. I will not be quiet. You got me going? I'm telling you where it's at. Now, we all have to stand up and recognize the fact the other side is supporting the NRA, and that money, we're trying to support common sense gun laws. That's all.
All right,
Thank you.
we're gonna move Representative Paszynski into a totally different arena. Although I appreciate your passion for the issue. Maybe you'd be a good person to be in charge of that for the state. Very recently, the ruling in Alabama regarding women's reproductive rights has been alarming to half the population. Can you please tell us whether or not you'd support an amendment to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to support women's reproductive rights? Representative Paszynski.
Ladies, you are in charge. This is outrageous. The magnificence of male and female to continue society, the love, the connection. It's your choice. I have a wonderful wife, had a wonderful wife, 3 wonderful daughters. Nobody should tell them what they should do, whether they should have a child or not. I have 7 wonderful grandchildren. Would they be able to do all that? Would I have those grandkids now with some of these new laws? I don't know. You, as a woman, you and your family, you and your doctor are the ones that are the experts and should have the right to determine what your fate will be, what your future will be, what your family will be. No politician should be telling you that. Now, nothing against the politicians, because we're put in that position to have to deal with it. My position is simple. That choice is between you, your doctor, your family. Not for me to create something to tell you, no, you can't do that. No, you have to go to another state in order to do that. Oh, forget about your health. No. I think this is a pretty simple issue. I don't think it's that complicated. It's between you, your doctor, and your family. That's it. I don't think that there's people that make that choice without tremendous thought, without tremendous mental suffering to figure out what they need to do, whether they're able to have that child or not. That's a very, very difficult decision.
Unfortunately, it doesn't appear we are in charge. You are. So would you support the amendment?
I'm telling you, I'm supporting anything that supports your right to choose. Your right. You, your doctor, your family. That's what I support.
Thank you. All right, Representative Haddock.
I most definitely would support a constitutional amendment.
Okay, thank you.
See, you have to ask the right questions.
Thank you. So we are now going to look at the fact that we are in an election year, 2024. Pennsylvania is one of only 9 states with closed primaries. That means 1.2 million Pennsylvanians who are not registered as either Democrats or Republicans cannot vote in the April 23rd primary. Do you support legislation to make PA an open primary state, and could it happen this session?
I doubt that would happen this session. I can support open primaries for independent voters and regardless of the affiliation of that independent voter.
Do you have any thoughts on making mail-in balloting better? Representative Haddock, do you have any thoughts on making mail-in balloting better?
That's two different questions, though.
Well, it seems like
Okay.
mail-in ballots are here to stay. Yes, it is. I'm asking an additional question, like kind of on the heels of that one.
So you get two questions, Ed, if you keep it short.
There's just so many cards up here. I'm trying to get them all in.
We have done several things in the House of Representatives. Look, the greatest right we have in America is your right to vote. It makes us what we are today. So I am a strong supporter of measures that would increase people's rights to vote and to protect the right to vote. Because again, when it didn't come up yet again, I've said this before, you know what? Our democracy is under attack, folks. And your right to vote is under attack. Not by me, because I support it very heavily. And I don't like speaking for the whole House, but the Democratic side of the House support the right to vote and expanding opportunities to vote. And mail-in ballots is a big part of that. So yes, I support mail-in ballots.
So Representative Pashinsky, do you support legislation to make PA an open primary state? And then what can we do to make the mail-in balloting better?
As far as the open primary, let me throw this out to you. We have two parties. Neither of them are perfect. And we have a whole bunch of folks that are upset at what Party A is doing, upset at what Party B is doing. You know what? But that's called life. I would say to many of you, select the one you think you're closest with, then get involved. Get involved and try to fix it. Got it? Get involved and try to fix it. Right now, a third party, I think, would be very destructive to the system. And I mean that sincerely. Right now, I think third parties, independents, that kind of thing, would be very destructive because of what the potential result could be. But again, this is democracy. What the representative said, your power is your vote, because there's more of people and your vote than there is the powerful. Got it? The people are actually in competition with the powerful. And the powerful doesn't have the votes. That's why they're trying to make it harder for you to vote. What? Why would you make it harder for the people of America to vote? That's your power. That's your opinion. Now, I would hope that before you take that vote, you research and you find the truth and the facts, and you let the truth and facts guide you. There's a lot of stuff being sent out there, a lot of stuff being promoted, a lot of misinformation, a lot of confusion. It's your responsibility as an American citizen to try to find the truth and the facts before you make that vote. So when it comes to that independent part, at this point, I would prefer you either become a Republican and try to fix them, or you become a Democrat and try to fix us. Okay? As far as your mail-in ballots, as I pointed out to you, why would you make things more difficult? We have so many pieces of legislation that we have promoted to try to make voting easier, safer, secure. No, they don't want to do it. What's wrong with a mail-in ballot if it's done appropriately? And you know, too often people don't realize, hey, life isn't like it was. People have jobs that take them out of the area. They may not be here for voting day. We have people that travel with their work. They can't be here for voting day. We have people that don't have it. They're by themselves. They don't have a car. They don't have friends. They don't, whatever. They can't vote. Wait a minute. Mail-in ballots. We've been doing mail-in ballots for our armed forces for decades. Why are we giving our armed forces the opportunity of a mail-in ballot? Because that's the American right, your power to vote. Okay, is everything perfect? No. Whatever it is, let's fix it, right? That's the challenge before us. Mail-in ballots do work, and we've already demonstrated that it works. We're asking for pre-canvassing. What do I mean? Well, because mail-in ballots are working, you have X number of people working in that election bureau that day. And everybody's expecting by 11 o'clock at night, we want to know who won. Well, so for the place, I know you're going to give me to stop. I'm trying to answer the whole thing here. So when those ballots come in, you have X number of people that are working. Well, that costs X amount of dollars. So, okay, you have 10,000 ballots that come in. We can handle that by 11 o'clock. 15,000, 20,000. What happens if you have 400,000 ballots that you have to count? Because they're only allowed to start counting from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. What do you need, an army? Come on. So there's a process that you can start where you at least take it out of that first envelope. Got it? And you begin to organize it that way. Then you're able to get those hundreds of thousands of ballots tabulated. That's just, an example of where they're refusing to alter that system, to allow that to take place. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. I know my time's out.
Okay, this is going to be the final question for today. However, since I didn't get to a lot of the questions that the audience submitted, I invite you to come and speak to the candidates individually after the event and ask them your questions. They were excellent questions.
Doctor, I thought we were over at 1.
Oh, am I early?
No, we did a 75-minute thing and then talking afterwards amongst ourselves.
Oh.
Yeah.
My schedule said 10 to 1. Sorry.
That's right.
Well, I'm sure after the event, please come. Obviously, Representative
I'll be here till
Paszynski
1.
will be here, so he can answer the questions.
And if you talk to him, you might be here till 2.
That's my buddy, Representative Jim Haddock. We sit next to each other on the floor, too.
This goes on all day long.
There you go.
All right, today's final question has to do with the Israeli-Gaza conflict. We received a number of index cards on this topic. So even though a lot of this goes on at the federal level, there are some concerns at the state level as well. In Pennsylvania, there have been some proposals to stop or even withdraw Pennsylvania's investments in Israel. What do you think, Representative Paszynski?
Well, first of all, we wouldn't be in this position at all if Hamas didn't come over and obliterate 1,200 innocent people. It's beyond any comprehension. Thank you. I cannot imagine that. Innocent children, women, people, just kill them. That's inhumane. It's 2024. I don't know where they are over there. That whole place over there is a mess. So we wouldn't be there if it wasn't for that. I cannot tell you definitively how Israel has managed that system in that part of the world. But I do know that surrounding that part of the world, there's still a whole bunch of countries that certainly are against everything that we as a democratic society will accept. Frankly, when I've had discussions with folks on both sides, I said, in my opinion, there should be no discussion until all the hostages are freed. Innocent people. Free them. Sit down at the table. This is 2024. Didn't we learn anything from the hundreds of thousands of men and women that died in our wars? Didn't we learn anything from the Civil War? Over 700,000 Americans died fighting each other. Over 600,000 men and women died, Americans, fighting World War I, World War II, Korea, all of that. I don't want to go through that again. We should not have to go through that again. We should have learned from that. Those guys over there are barbarians. what's going on is absolutely insanity. But before I would sit down at that table, you release those hostages, you bring everybody to that table, and then we work it out. That's my position on that.
Representative Haddock?
I was mayor of Avoca when 9/11 happened. America was attacked by a foreign entity. I can't tell you that the Avoca, well, I can tell you this, the Avoca Airport and a few spots from Toby Hanna Army Depot to an ammunitions plant in Scranton, our area was on high alert. Most of us in northeastern Pennsylvania did not know it. A sovereign country like America was attacked by a foreign entity. Now, years later, Israel, a sovereign country, was attacked on their own soil. I equate the two events. America fought back and is still fighting those terrorists till today. The wars just don't end, folks. And I lost a stepson fighting for this country. Israel has the right to protect itself. So the House of Representatives, the governor, and the Senate went on record very early. We didn't just jump the gun to support Israel. And I was part of the resolution. I voted for that resolution, and I still stand for a sovereign country to protect itself. I don't know the ins and outs. That's heavy politics over there. That's been a religious war for centuries. There's casualties, but that's what happens in war. But I stand with Israel.
By the way, one other thought, if you don't mind, when Representative Haddock brought up the fact that we were invaded, and I'll never forget that, because I was in the classroom, and there was a television on in the other room, and one of the kids said, left to the bathroom, came back, and said, "Hey, Mr. Day, a plane flew into a building." I said, "What? A plane flew into a building in New York?" My God. And I kept thinking it was, like a single pilot in a private plane that accidentally, and then all of a sudden, boom, another plane went, what's going on? And the feeling that I had in my heart was, where can I sign up? Okay, maybe I'm not young enough for that gun, but I can drive the damn truck, I can load that truck, but damn it, nobody's going to do this. And the reason you may feel this passion is because I don't want my kids and I don't want my grandkids to have to go through what war is all about. Come to the damn table. You discuss it there. What's going on is absolutely insanity. And I know we will do everything we possibly can to prevent that from ever happening here. But what I'm trying to say to you is, if somebody punches you in your face, what are you going to do? I'm going to punch you back. And that's what's transpired. America went to Afghanistan, didn't we? We went over there and said, don't ever do that to us again. And that's what's happening now. It's not an easy thing. Sorry about that. A little bit of passion there.
Okay, I'd like to invite the candidates to make a closing statement, please. Let's begin with Representative Haddock.
Well, I thank you again, the League of Women Voters and your board and everybody that attended today. This is important. These questions are pointed. I hope you learned some things. We learned what's on your mind. I love events like this, and will gladly attend to the best of my ability anytime my schedule allows, because I just believe in this type of program. Education's always a good thing. Many of the questions were about education. This is education today, and I thank you for that. One of the things I was hoping you got a question, I'm going to throw this one out. Does anybody watch Channel 16 or 28? You might notice the commercial that's running against two of us. It's called Dark Money, folks. It's a billionaire from Philadelphia that has a vested interest in looking for more money from the state of Pennsylvania, and he's mad at Democrats for not giving him that money. His name is Jeff Yass. A billionaire from Philadelphia says that we don't work. Are we working today?
No, this is fun, man.
Well, a lot of time our work is fun, and I do enjoy
It is.
things like this. But dark money is a terrible thing, and I'm just going to educate people who's attacking us because they want more money for themselves. Those commercials are misleading, they're outright lies, and we have been in Harrisburg. When called upon, we passed 200 bills. We are moving in the right direction. It's the first time in 12 years that a new direction is in the House of Representatives, and we've seized that by passing 200 bills and working hard. Now, not all those bills got to the governor's desk because that's politics, and that's why there's different chambers, and I get the big picture. But it's important for you to know, and your friends to know, that that's a billionaire from Philadelphia that's attacking because we're in a close district. Luzerne County has closed the gap politically, and these districts are what we call in play politically. And because of that, and because of a guy that's a billionaire that wants to tell northeastern Pennsylvania how to vote, dark money's in these elections, and that's something that really has to be addressed. And I thought that before I was being attacked. But now I most definitely,
Interestingly, that was one of the questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Where
well,
those postcards and commercials were coming from.
but again, I thank you all for being here, and I most certainly will stay around.
Representative Pashinsky?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you to the League of Women Voters for conducting this. Again, I think Jimmy and I are telling you our positions from the heart, from the soul. It's an honor to serve, and I mean that sincerely. The greatest gift that we have is when we can do something that we can help someone, and we know that we played some kind of role in helping you. That's very important to us. That's our pay, quite honestly, for me. I thank all of you for being here today because, again, this is America. This is democracy. This is your opportunity for us to hear your concerns, and then it's our job to go back to Harrisburg and attempt to address your concerns. I will tell you that both Representative Haddock and I will rebut the lies that have been put on television, as well as the postcards that have been sent. Some are quite comedic, but it is damaging. And I mentioned this to you earlier. You got to always search for the truth in the facts and let the truth in the facts guide your words and actions. Because there's so much baloney out there, misinformation that's being distributed to confuse and to, you know what else? To divide. And don't ever forget that we're Americans first. Yes, somebody likes vanilla ice cream, somebody likes the chocolate ice cream, but we're still Americans first. And there's always a way that we can come together and improve and protect our lives and our future. Guess what? We've done that. What do you mean? In 2 years, we're going to be celebrating our 250th birthday, America. We are the richest, most powerful nation in the world. How did we become that way? Freedom of speech, freedom to vote, the right of an education. All of those things that those brilliant people designed when they first came over here. Why did they come here? And why does everybody want to come here? We all have a chance for a future. Got it? Don't ever lose that. And yes, we may disagree, but that doesn't mean that we still can't make improvements for the future of you, your kids, and America, and democracy. So it's an honor for me to be here, and I thank you all very much for your role that you play. We're counting on you to stay involved. We're counting on you to get some more people. The next time Jimmy and I meet, we want to see 500 people, and then we get 5 minutes per question.
As today's
We're gonna
moderator,
Well,
on
I said
behalf
we'll stick around.
As today's moderator, on behalf of myself and my students who are in the room, I'd like to thank our representatives here today for joining us. We thank you for your knowledge, we thank you for your passion, and most of all, we thank you for your service. I'd now like to reintroduce Dr. Michelle Anthony.
Thank you so much for being here. This is great. Just a reminder that this brunch session will be broadcast on Service Electric Television, Channel 9 at 8 p.m. Wednesday, February 28th, and the Luzerne County Government Programming YouTube channel the following day. A link to that video will be posted on our league website. Everyone remember to vote in the primary on April 23rd and the general election on November 5th, whether by mail or in person. And please consider joining the League, a nonpartisan organization. Membership is open across genders as the League works to educate the community about voting rights and the democratic process. There are voter registration cards right outside that door. We'd love for you to register if you're not already registered here in Pennsylvania. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.